Welcome to the MindGrow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Kathan, and today we are joined by world-class coach and communications expert, Jeff Klubeck, from boardrooms to classrooms in 14 countries and across 4 continents. Jeff has spent decades helping people unlock their full potential through clarity, communication, and accountability. He's a best-selling author of The Integrity Game, the founder of Get a Clue, Inc., and as well as an international public speaker. Please help me welcome to the MindGrow studio, Jeff Klubeck. Welcome.
Hey, all right, thanks. That intro sounds nice coming from your voice, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jeff and I actually had the opportunity to connect through an international speaker network event. And when I met him, I had the pleasure of being in a breakout room with him. And as soon as we connected, it was like his energy was like, pow, I could feel it. It was magnetic and energetic and wonderful. And since that time, I've been really attracted to what your core message is, which is integrity. And you not only talk about integrity, you write about it. It's your everyday life, and you've made a business around it. So when you think of integrity, like what is the thing that comes to your mind automatically?
Well, it's one of these things like parenting or driving that we all consider ourselves to be really good at it, but everybody else sucks, right? Like I'm silly and I'm jovial when I talk about this subject because, the integrity game is a Trojan horse to get into the more serious conversation, which is an accountability conversation. But most people consider accountability to be an attack when they're not ready to be responsible for their own behavior on the other side of it. Most people hold people responsible for their behavior or hold people accountable without their proper technique, without permission, without frameworks, without communication skills. So the being held and the holding of accountability is a tricky business. So I don't just go right into an accountability conversation. I Trojan horse our way there with the integrity game.
I love that. Integrity to me seems like something that is less and less frequent as we look around the world. And when you look at businesses or when you're looking at going into a contract with somebody or a client, what do you have like a accountability sheet or something that you go by that is your gauge that you're able to read someone's integrity? Or is it something that just comes naturally? It's such a fascinating subject to me.
Yeah. I love the question. Let me go back to the premise, right? Say, well, it seems like there's less and less of it when we look around the world, right? Well, that's the trick, isn't it? Stop looking around the world, right? The integrity game, I'm not like the guru and the expert on integrity. I want more in my life, so I'm playing every day. I'm just inviting the world to play with me. But where am I looking? Within. I'm not looking out there to the rest of the world. I know the disappointment I'm going to find if I look out there to the world. And by the way, I'm just projecting my own disappointment with myself onto the world. Why would I waste my time complaining about how out of integrity the world is when I've got room to grow in that area myself? So every time I look out into the world, I'm wasting time that I could be applying internally. Every job, Stephanie, is an inside job. So that's number one. Stop looking at the world. You'll be disappointed. Start looking within. You'll be surprised. That's number one. Number two is there a sheet? Is there like an accountability form? No. But the integrity game, as I've created it, is a 10-point model. And I go back and forth. I don't know if you can see my hands. I know this is audio only, but I go zigzag. Like if you can close your eyes and imagine shoelaces, you know how when you're lacing up sneakers, you put the string in the top hole and then you move it across the diagonal. You go back up and grab the other one, diagonal. Right? So the shoelaces are not tying the shoe. We tie the laces. What the laces are doing is integrating the left side of the shoe with the right side to give that shoe structural integrity so the shoe can stay on the foot and do what it's made to do. That's a metaphor, but this is my argument when I'm keynoting, when I'm public speaking, when I'm writing the books, when I'm doing the lunch and learns, when I'm doing the workshops, when I'm doing the soft skills trainings. It's all packaged integrity game. Okay. But the answer to your question is it's not like a checklist. It's a 10-point framework. It's a 10-point model. So that means that there's 10 points of entry into the game, and each point on the model becomes a set of questions. So the integrity game is very easy to understand. It's just harder to play. The integrity game is a set of 10 questions, 10 question sets that invites a player to answer, right? Like questions like, what's your purpose? Questions like, what are your gifts and competitive advantages and differentiation? Questions like, what is your potential? Your life has the potential to what? Vision, mission, objectives, right? What are your quarterly goals that you've set as a function of that potential? What strategies have you chosen? What are the next tactics, observable actions? What are you committed to? What do you do? Right. So there's a set. So it's not like a checklist, so to speak, right? Like a check sheet or a punch card. But the 10, if I can invite and build enough rapport and build enough of trust and lower enough guard, right? And invite people into the game, then pick one of the 10 points on the model. We'll start answering those questions. We'll either answer up or answer down until we have all 10 sets of questions answered. And then that's what you want to be held accountable for. I'm not here to tell you what to be held accountable for. When I'm doing contracts and so forth, I use integrity game frameworks in my discovery, in my diagnosis. I can't use that word. I'm not I'm not a therapist, but you know what I mean? In my discovery, in my assessments, in my scope defining mission, right? And then again, there's a big difference. You get into the sticky stuff, and I'm sure you're aware of this, Stephanie. There's a difference between when somebody is ready to work on and when somebody is not ready to work on. And very often I can tell that what's not being said. I can tell, but I don't have permission yet to get in there. I don't have jurisdiction. It's not within the scope. Sometimes I joke around. Sometimes they say, if it's a one-on-one coaching assignment, they're like, we're just going to work on my business, right? We're just going to work on my business. No, I know they're up at home. I already know. You know what I'm saying? Like, sure, we'll just work on your business if you don't mind building a mansion on top of quicksand. But if we don't figure out what you're like a sniper on top of your White House, making sure I don't get close to, if you're not ready to work on that, then all the strategy for business in the world that we can give you is just going to fall on deaf or distracted ears. And then you're going to blame the rest of your employees for not having integrity when you won't work on what's bothering you at home so you can be stronger.
I love that.
Yeah. So those are my answers to that question.
How did you know? They were great too. How did you know that this was something that was calling you? Like, did you always know you wanted to be a coach in the global arena? Like, was there something that inspired you to take this direction?
Here's a Klubeck snack for you. My last name is Klubeck, so I come up with
You're breaking
Klubeck
up just a little bit.
Okay. All right. How about now?
That's good. Good.
Okay. Yeah. So, my last name is Klubeck. And so I've coined Klubeck snacks as, the name or the brand of my motivational quotes. And the one that comes to mind right now, Stephanie, is that everything is multi-determined. That's a Klubeck snack. Everything is multi-determined. So to your question, I haven't always known that I wanted to do exactly what I'm doing right now. It's part of an evolution, right? Although I have always known that I've got a gift of gab, or I've got a fast processor, or that I can take the complex and rephrase it or wordsmith it into the simple. I'm here right now recording this at San Diego State University. And, just to get a little bit deep and peel some layers of the onion with you, Stephanie, when I was in college, I was poor. I had 2 jobs and 12 units in San Diego, and I would go home every other weekend to deliver pizzas and do my laundry and then come back with a broken down car and all of the fits and starts of all of that being a struggling college student. But my point is that I couldn't afford textbooks for a while. It was like, maybe my 3rd year of college before I could afford textbooks. So I would go to class and I would listen to every single word the professor was saying. I would take furious notes. Right. And I was attending, I was on time, I was taking notes, I was paying 100% undivided attention, taking furious notes in the class. And just because I didn't have the money for the textbook, I was still afraid that I wasn't getting it. Right. So I built the habit of constantly asking my hand and saying, so what you're saying is, so if I understand you correctly is what you're saying is, so, hey, it sounds like what you said before is different than what you're saying now. Is that because it really is different? And I just constantly asked clarifying questions for the professor to give myself security to make sure that I felt that I got it. Right. Well, after a while, I would leave the classroom and there'd be a line, and sometimes it'd be like the really cute girls in class too, which is I didn't bother me, but there'd be a line of people waiting, in the hallway saying, "Can I study with you?" Because I was just in survival mode for myself because I didn't have the textbook and I was wildly insecure. Yet, what was I doing to overcompensate for my survival mode was I was basically making it easier for everybody else in the class. I was asking the questions. I was breaking up the monotony. I was taking the jargon that the professor was giving us, and I was turning it into slogan and hook and catchphrase, right? I'll give you an example. Are you ready to laugh with me a little bit?
Yes.
Let's just pretend that I'm the professor and I'm the one that's guilty of what I'm accusing my old professors of. And they're not guilty. They were just doing it. Right? Here we go. Let's say I was teaching a class on, behavioral intervention, mindset, behavioral intervention, the belief bones connected to the behavior bone, right? That's how I do it now, jovial and fun-loving and with catches and hooks and phrases and sticky motivational Kluby snacks, etc. But if I was the professor version, it would sound like this. Stephanie, I listen very carefully to the diction choices of the people that I'm, supporting. That gives me access to their limiting beliefs, which I then replace with empowering alternatives and then condition to a point of transformation. Right? Right. And hopefully me in my class would raise their hand and say, "Oh, are you saying you do a checkup from the neck up to get people out of their own way?" Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, young person. And then you follow, right? So I would take, that's basically what I would do is I would take, I listen carefully to the word choices that give me access to the limiting beliefs, which I then replace with the empowering alternatives. Forget that. Check up from the neck up.
Right.
And so my ability to quickly decode, to re-encode in digestible, more accessible language, just out of survival to make sure that I felt that I understood it. But next thing I knew, I was helping others in the classroom, people that were afraid to ask questions, people that weren't getting it, people that didn't have the attention span, people that had the textbook and didn't think they needed to pay attention in class because, I'll just go study later. Literally, they know they aren't going to study later. They're going to socialize instead of read their book, right? Anyway, so I hope that's an answer to your question. I've always known that part. That I can simplify the complex, that I can wordsmith, that I can metaphor, that I can story tell, that I can phraseology, I got the nuggets and I've always known that. I haven't always known that I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. My focus on integrity emerged in my work as an accountability coach. Accountability coaching is one of 3 critical pieces of being a leader in someone's life. We want to get people engaged. We got to get them motivated enough to change their behavior, and then accountability. So those are the 3 things that I focus on. Are you excited about what you're doing? Probably not if you're not clear on what you're doing or who you are. So we got to get people clear on who they are and clear about what they want. That increases engagement. Right? But a lot of people aren't willing to take responsibility for deciding who they are or what they want. They'd rather just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Right. I'll keep up with the Joneses, or, that person did this, so I think I want to go do that. And I've had plenty of that in my life too, right? I saw somebody teaching a class. I'm like, I could teach a class, right? And on and on. So part of it's choose your own adventure. Part of it is, the culmination. I couldn't stop. You put enough accountability coaching, you put enough hours of accountability coaching, enough study, enough thought about accountability coaching, and after a while, something's going to come out. But what comes out has to come out in my own words and my own phraseology. There's universal truths, Stephanie, right? And then the extroverts like me, we're just putting into our own words so we can, make a living, right? There's universal truths. Gravity's gravity. Whether I I describe it this way or that way. So the ones that like me will like the way I describe it, and the ones that like you will like the way you describe it. And there's plenty of people on the planet, lots of abundance. But I grew up in some scarcity, so I'm trying to pay more attention to the abundance in the world. So it's not one thing that's determined how I am in the position that I am, or how I got to be here. It's multi-determined. It's a combination of a bunch of things. And who even knows if I'm in the right spot? I still feel myself evolving every day. I've got my eyes on the future, and it doesn't look like what my life looks like these days. So, I'm riding the wave.
Well, we're so glad that you are, and so thankful that you have decided to share the message in the ways that you do, in ways that people like me can understand. I love that. When you were going through the survival part and in the scarcity mindset, were there things that you did that helped you shift, or was it mostly, just doing the work of learning and then implementing what you were learning? Was there a certain message, like, was there something that clicked with you one day and you were like, oh, I can change this. It doesn't have to be this way.
I want to say yes. There's this one earthquake that happened. No, I mean, but I still think it's cumulative, right? I do. But if I had to pick, and I don't know if this is the exact answer to your question, but here's what comes to mind. I met my wife. I fell in love with Marianne. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, I need to be a better dude to deserve this.
I love that.
Like, I need to get my crap together. If I'm gonna deserve this woman, hang on to this woman, and build what's possible with this woman. And we're opposites, so we don't always get along. We don't always see things the same way. But I knew that, wow, we, first of all, we smell good to each other, which means we have opposite immune systems, which means if we had kids, they'd be really healthy. Right. But then also with me as a fast-paced, variety-oriented extrovert, and my wife a slow-paced, certainty-driven introvert, if we had kids that were like spreadsheet and good at the front of the room public speaking, if they could color coordinate the closet and pick up the phone and do some sales, you know what I'm saying? So like basically like, my parents didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love, and I'm embarrassed with the richness of what they gave me, and I think that's more to your question, is like when I became an adult and came to college, I was, the first person I meet. My older brother, he was still living at home when I left to come to college, and came to college, and I started learning what other kids were like and how other kids were raised and what other adults were like and what other careers were around, what other professions were possible, what other life tracks or scenarios were like. Basically, it was more than just sit at home, watch TV, and be comfortable with your spouse. Like life exposed itself that there was more possibilities than that. And sadly, and I'm probably still working on it to this day, but sadly, what I had to really get over was like, damn, my parents, they really wasted their lives. I mean, I had to stop saying it like that. You know what I mean? I had to stop. Come on, Mom. Come on, Dad. There's so much possible. You can,
Right.
I wanted so much more. My mom was genius, brilliant, and I don't think that she came anywhere close to tapping her potential. She was mired in fear, mired in comfort zone. She grew up where the TV was brand new and they were freaked out by it. The same with cell phones now with the kids.
Right.
There's TV with our parents, right? And so there was just the belief that, you had to find out who shot JR,
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, hey, Mom, Dad, can I tell you what happened to me at school today? Hang on. We're about to find out who shot JR. So my parents were a little bit more interested in TV and entertaining themselves and comfort zones and the couch and the bunny nightgown and the like, stay in bed, stay on the couch and just entertain yourself with media, and where, I was encouraged to go make something of myself, and it didn't have a whole lot of role modeling and, road paving, other than just my belief in myself, my confidence, my love, my capacity for love, etc. So I think that's something that I had to work on, and maybe to some degree I'm still working on it. I wrote The Integrity Game while I was mourning the loss of my parents. They passed 3 weeks apart in pre-vax COVID. September of 2020.
Wow.
So my head was on a swivel, and that was a trauma for me dealing with their passing. But it was also a blessing because I helped them achieve that with some sort of grace and some sort of dignity that they didn't provide for themselves. I made sure through it all my brother would be okay, and then I went to work on the integrity game. You know, like what if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? I need something. And so the characters that are in the book, the integrity game, they're modeled after my children. You know, like all three of my kids. There's characters in the game that represent all three of my children, and I wrote a very long, heartfelt, uncensored confession of my love for Marianne in the beginning and the dedication for the integrity game. So as much as it is a professional thing and a 10-point model that I use keynotes and lunch and learns and book writing and soft skill training, I use the integrity game for everything I do professionally right now. It was really, an affair of the heart and a legacy play. And if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I'm going to want my kids and my wife to know how much they mean to me. And that's the switch that flipped. If anything, it's like, how am I going to deserve my wife? And then it became, how am I going to deserve my wife and kids? And next thing I know, I'm out of bed helping as many people as I can.
I love this so much. What would you say to somebody who might be in that place where you were, in that place of, I want to be better, I don't quite know how, I want to be the person I know the people I love deserve?
Ooh, well, there's a great book that's circulating these days. It's the who, not the how, right?
Mm.
There's plenty of how out there, and the joke of it is like, don't suffer from halitosis. It's bad breath. Right? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? Like people like really lock into that how because it seems like a comfortable place from which to play victim. Stop with the how. Figure out the who. Who's done what you want to do? Who seems to know a thing or two, right? Who, who speaks, who writes, who's got the strategies, the tactic, it's not the how. There's plenty of how. There's multiple paths to the same destination. Anything that you or I want to achieve, somebody's achieved it. And even when somebody's, Jeff, nobody's ever walked on the moon without a spacesuit. Okay, cool. We don't necessarily know how to do that yet, but we know how to get to the moon. We know how to walk on the moon, right? So why don't we focus on what we do know? And then the hows will reveal themselves. And then the other thing that's more important is why. Why do you want to be a better person? Is it really to deserve someone else, or is it really to be the person that you deserve? I mean, you asked me what was the flip that switched. Like I began to care about people more than myself, but then in that process, I had to care more about myself. Right. And so every job is an inside job. We are the only people we're guaranteed to spend the rest of our lives with. It's great to be motivated and influenced by others. It's great to be led and handheld. And most successful people, by the way, Stephanie, they love helping other people. Yes. Who the people who don't have time to help? The ones that are pretending to be successful, but their fridge is empty. Right. The ones that are picking you up in the $700 a month car, but they don't have gas in it other than for tonight. They've got all the clothing and the cologne and the perfumes and the trappings and the jewelry and the watch, but like the fridge is empty, right? They don't have time to help you. Right? They're posturing. But the people that are truly successful, they're ready to help. So forget about the how. And you might get a perfect how and still have to tweak it and do it your way. You know what I mean? So don't focus on that, but focus on who, focus on why. And I guarantee you the hows will reveal themselves.
That's so good. Jeff, where can people go to learn more about you and tap into your brilliance?
Well, I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. I think that's the best place to go, LinkedIn. You can also go to theintegritygame.com. All of your listeners can make themselves eligible on that website for 2 complimentary coaching sessions. If they mention MindGrow Studio and Stephanie, if they mention you, then I'll be happy to conduct those sessions myself.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I don't know if you heard that. This is time to pay attention because that was a really big gift that you were just given. I hope you take advantage of it. Where do they go to do that? At
theintegritygame.com. theintegritygame.com. It's really easy. There's like 3 calls to action right on top for yourself, for your team, or for your event. And just click for yourself and you sign up for your first of 2 complimentary sessions. Are you ready, Stephanie? They only get the second one if they like the first one.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
right? So the idea is, it's not a sales pitch, it's not a what's that behind you. We're going to do real coaching. So be ready with something to write with and something to write on, because we do real deep dive coaching in the first session. We set you up with some homework that you commit to in between the first session and the second session. And then it's in that second session that we can show you what accountability looks like and feels like. And then you'll know if you want us to be your coach or not. Very simple. Very, very simple.
I love that so much. You are just so amazing. And I know I sing your praises all the time. I probably sound like some kind of fangirl, but you are just someone that I am so honored to have in my circle. Somebody that, and I get to connect with you tomorrow night at the International Speaker Network, which I'm so excited about. I love what you are bringing to the world. I love the way that you share and shine in your brilliance, and the way that you help others to really get tapped into their full potential. I know you've helped me, and there was a thing. Jeff invited me to go to speak at one of his events that he was doing. We were doing this collaboration with the International Speaker Network, and it was right after I had a personal incident, and I was like, yeah, I'm on it. And then I dipped. I did not show up. I was not accountable. I was like, oh my gosh. I felt overwhelmed. And then I saw one of his posts that talked about accountability, and I was like, I have to reach out to him. And when I did, it was totally wonderful the way that you grounded me, the way that you made me kind of reflect into how I was being to myself. And it really helped me not only move forward, but it brought us to this conversation right here, which has been so friggin' mind growing and awesome and wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I don't have to explain this to you. Your energy. We're all energy, right? So the material timeline is an illusion, right? You know this. and I say that in order to say this. You weren't out of integrity. You weren't not being accountable. You ultimately proactively updated your word, reached out, and made all of this happen. I was just ready energetically with love and kindness when you were in a position to reach out. So I would encourage you to eliminate the declarations of I wasn't accountable. Not true. You were. It just took a quantum physical amount of time, which is fine.
Yes, I love that. I love it. I love it so much. You have been listening to Jeff Klubeck in all his brilliance talk about the power of integrity and the integrity game. Please go to his website at theintegritygame.com so you can take advantage of those wonderful gifts that he just offered. Jeff, do you have any parting words that you would like to give to the listeners?
Yeah, when I'm doing the keynotes, I ask, on the integrity game. By the way, if anybody needs a speaker for an event, I'd love to hear about that. But when I'm doing the keynotes, I usually get to a point where I ask everybody, how many of you believe you have integrity? And everybody raises their hand, and then I gotcha, right? Like, don't shoot the keynote speaker in 45 minutes, right? Like, and I use that joviality to get them in. But here's the seriousness of it. Later on in the keynote, I let everybody off the hook, and then we let your listeners off the hook right away. The truth is, we all have some. And we all need more.
Yes, I love it. Thank you for joining us here on the MindGrow Radio Storyteller Series. We've been joined by Jeff Klubeck. I'm your host, Stephanie Kathan. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And until we meet again, keep shining in your brilliance. I will put the links to where you can connect with Jeff in the description of this video and in the podcast on Spotify. And if you have any questions, please reach out to him, because he is amazing and you will want to tap into his energy. Take it easy, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.